Good evening, everyone, and welcome, and thank you so much for coming for sort of the unveiling of our close to final plans for the complete reconstruction of Springfield High School. It is kind of a really cool thing for me to stand up here today and know that we stood here and did our 9 community engagement sessions. We did 3 here, 3 at Lanphier High School, and 3 at Southeast, to come up with the overall facilities plan and to build up a knowledge bank for our community so that they could vote with information on our sales tax in 2017. And we always want to start off by thanking the public, thanking the citizens of Springfield for giving us permission to walk this journey, giving us permission to do the work that you're seeing come to fruition at Lanphier High School. We're in the very final touches. We're going to open that up, the whole school up for the students beginning in January. We know we still have a little work to do on the auditorium and some of the last finishing touches. We'll tear down the Lower Nika Gymnasium and tear down the Edison wing to make sure that we have another student entrance and some additional parking and green space. But other than that, the students will be in, and it was because of the vote of the sales tax that allowed our community to do this work. You'll also see all the middle schools that have gotten renovations on the gymnasiums. Lincoln Magnet was renovated right before we voted with life safety dollars. So all of our middle schools have had improvements over the last 5 years. And then we also did a lot of safe and secure entrances, added addition on to many elementaries, and we are still continuing that work. But it's all because of the sales tax, and so we wanted to thank the community. But more important, this project tonight that we're going to unveil and really ask for you to ask questions and provide any feedback on while we're still in those final stages is really exciting. Because this Springfield High School has been here for, since before the last turn of the century, and we're very excited to be able to do the things that we all wanted to see come to fruition, but we did not have the funding for previously. So with this, you'll see a lot of things for activities for students. You'll see great classroom space for our educators. They've met with each individual department. They've met with an executive team from Springfield High that included teachers and administrators, as well as all of the stakeholders in the project. We've had a big staff meeting right here in this room not too long ago to show and let them ask feedback. And we've had a lot of great response and been able to design a building that we know will last hopefully for another 125 years. So with that being said, you don't want to hear from me, you want to see the cool pictures. I'm going to turn it over to Todd Cerulik from BLDB, lead architecture firm on this project, as well as Lanphier High School. And welcome, Mayor Bushra, thank you for coming tonight. So with all of that being said, we want to turn this over and really get the show going. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Gill. We are just beyond excited to be here tonight and unveil, really the first time to the public, what we see is a wonderful culmination of all the work that Superintendent Gill just talked about. Put that back in there. So tonight we are going to go through a very broad understanding of how the building, do we need closer? Okay, we're going to go through a very broad understanding of how the building, once it's renovated and the additions are on and parts are gone and parts are new, is going to work. We're going to show you some images. We'll probably call them renderings, but for those of you, they're digital interpretations of what the future building will look like. So we're going to jump right into that with the agenda. Appreciate everyone coming. I hope we've got a lot of Springfield High School alumni here. We've spent the last 6-8 months really getting to know what it means to be a senator and what it means to educate future senators. So we've learned so much with that. And during that, we wanted to, as Superintendent Gill mentioned, we spent a lot of time really working for some small groups and then really digging in with the departments to understand what the difference between a math classroom and a social studies classroom and an English classroom, foreign language classroom needs to be in the future of Springfield High. So here's just a list of a few. It's probably not quite all the folks that we've been working with. And very early we realized that the collaborative nature of the departments was going to be key. So getting them together, really probably for the first time since 1917, when the building was originally built, it was going to be a very key part. But probably, sorry, I went too far. So probably the most important thing for us was understanding how to make this site really work. With over 100 years of experience and additions and picking up a parking lot here, a little parcel here, one of the great challenges is putting a modern high school on a very small lot, which was very normal 100 years ago. It's very abnormal today, as many of your neighboring districts in the county understand, is there's a lot of things that go on at high schools that weren't imagined 100 years ago when most children didn't have cars, most faculty didn't have cars. So the big piece, what you're seeing here in the photo, is an overhead view if you were flying over the future Springfield High School. And what you see for the first time probably since the building was built and there was a park around it, is some green space between us and Parker Street. So right now, if you look, we're standing right here in that area is where we're sitting and standing. So that is the Commons. The Commons remains, and you'll see what happens to it later. So outside these doors, instead of a parking lot and a large building, you're going to be seeing some nice green space, a little bit of parking for staff, but really a place where students can get outside and enjoy the outdoors, something that was very important a few years ago when we couldn't use the buildings the way we were now, and as well as do some of the PE things that right now just are not possible without leaving the site. To make this happen, one of the biggest things that the district was able to accomplish was almost adding over a third of buildable space to the property. So what you see here is at the bottom of the frame, the blue areas are properties that were purchased recently by the school district all alongside Monroe, allowing this project to work in phases. We don't have Edison like we did at Lanphier, so students will be occupying a majority of this building and using a majority of this building while the new pieces are built. So having that additional space, not only for the building that we're going to build, but as well as places to put all those trailers and materials and student parking and all those things. If you've driven by Lanphier or any of the construction sites, take an immense amount of space. But by acquiring those properties, it not only fulfills the needs for this immediate project, it also guarantees the opportunities for future generations to reimagine what Springfield High needs as far as parking and outdoor areas. So I'm going to introduce Kayla Peck from our office. Kayla's the co-designer of this, and she's going to talk a little bit about how the building is going to flow. And for those of you familiar, you're going to see some different things in the future.
Hi guys, my name is Kayla. I'm from BLDD Architects. I was once where you guys were sitting when I met BLDD going to high school at Meridian High School when we did a master plan and implemented that right when I graduated, of course, so I got to come back and see all of that happen. So I'm gonna go through a series of floor plans to show you guys what's all happening floor to floor. I'm gonna start with really broad concepts and then dive into the tinier spaces. So, and I would like to see, thought I had a laser pointer. Zoe, I'll have you come up here and point at things. Thank you. So, at the core of the building, we're just going to get you guys used to the spaces. Zoe, can you show us our original portion of the building right at the heart? So this is your 3-story space. It has your existing auditorium and has always held the classrooms and will continue to hold most of the classrooms for the school. Up to the north, on the right is the current science wing. It's going to remain where it is with those science classrooms. And to the left of that is what will become art. It is the common space that we're sitting in now. So we would like to keep some of the artwork that people have already created within this space, but have it grow and expand on with that program. Back to the heart of the building, we have, for the first floor, it's a lot of hands-on activities. So your sciences and your art, like I just covered. Along with that is math. A lot of times we sometimes see some collaboration between science and math. And then at the center of the existing building is our CTE program, which is FACS, or what used to be called Home Ec, business classes, makerspace, and it's designed to flex and flow on into the future depending on where that program wants to go. We also placed it on the first floor at the heart of the building, so we hope that students can see this is something for them to try out and have access to no matter what they're thinking of doing into the future. Down to the south is life skills. It's sitting right next to admin. Admin and the two competition gyms, or smaller gym and competition gym, those are new additions down to the south. Most of the big additions are down to the south, sitting outside of the existing building. To the left or to the west of the heart of the building is a very long and skinny addition. There you go. It has some additional classrooms from first to third floor. It is also kind of being very delicate of where it's going, because what you're not seeing in this plan is the original gym, the old gym up on that second floor, and the competition gym that you guys have now will eventually go away at the end of this project as it's getting replaced with two new gyms down to the south. Moving on to the second floor, for the main classrooms, you have social studies and foreign language. The competition gym has a balcony to it. It's designed to help with PE classes or extra sports, but it's also additional seating for those big competitions that the school can now host. Right beside the gym is music suite, so that's your band and chorus. We wanted the music suite up on the second floor so it can access the existing auditorium. The auditorium you guys have now will remain as it is. It will get some technical updates to it to make sure, one, it functions as a proper auditorium, and it also works for code. The one thing with that is into the new addition to the west, or the backstage of the auditorium, we're adding some more spaces there so that the production of those plays or performances have a little more opportunity to try out new things in those newer spaces. Up to the third floor, it's completely taken over by the English department. This also has your auditorium balcony here, and the media center will remain where it's at, but it will grow up to the fourth floor. So it has some opportunities on the third to have more hands-on activities that media centers have, but up to the fourth floor, you have a more standard library that people can come check out books, a little quieter, read a book, look out the window, see the Capitol. Very pretty space. So I'm going to dive into some of the spaces, starting on the first floor overall. Again, looking at the science and art room, which is the commons that we're sitting in now. The art room, we worked on a gallery space that will be pushed up against those murals, one to present additional, thank you, to present additional student work. But what this is also doing, and you will see in a lot of different spaces, is we're trying to supply space that helps with flexibility. So if art students in one classroom are doing a particular thing but need more space or need to break out, some of these spaces, like you'll see at Commons or Gallery or collab space, those spaces are trying to work with the ever-changing programs within all of these spaces. Again, Science Wing is staying where he is. It's the newest portion of the building. We are currently discussing updates and looking to the future beyond this project. Going to the core of the building, as I mentioned, this holds the main classrooms already, but it does have an addition to it to the west, or the back side of the building. This allows us to double the classroom sizes for most of the classrooms. This is what one of the classrooms looks like. Zoe, would you like to cover this? Thank you.
Sure. So most of the classrooms, at least in the general studies, will look very similar, with a traditional layout of having a teaching wall and then the classroom space next to it. So the teaching wall will have various technologies depending on the department. So some will have TV screens based on the department needs from what we listened and heard from them during the department meetings. So TV screens that can project and show things from computers, from Chromebooks, and then others will have projection screens, so that way teachers can write still on a marker board and still project if that works best for them. Next to whatever that screen is will be marker boards. We'll have a lot of space for people to work through that. We have casework that provides sufficient storage, and then a lot of the middle portion of the classroom is very flexible. All of the desks and chairs are separate from each other, so they can move around and adjust as necessary as the teachers see fit day to day. And all of the classrooms will have lovely windows now, as they will be getting replaced.
Thank you, Zoe. If you see in the lower left corner, we're saying example shown, social studies. The one thing with this is we've spoken to each department to get an idea of what they need for that particular subject. So while in general, most of the stuff will be the same, you have a teaching wall, you need some chairs, and you need some storage, we wanted to make sure what we were supplying wasn't just generic, it actually worked for that particular classroom. Moving on to the first floor, the southern area, this is your main competition gym and your practice gym. The practice gym acts as a storm shelter. So one of the meetings we had was with the student council, and one of the questions they had was, do we have to go to the basement? And I was confused as to why they went to the basement. It was for storms. So the new practice gym, while built in precast and is pretty sturdy, had some additional components added to it to make sure it was a proper storm shelter. When it comes to the overall size, the competition gym is much larger than the competition gym you have now. That will help again with hosting things, but it will really help the expansive PE class that you guys hold right now. It also includes a wrestling room, more locker rooms, weight room, and I think one of the biggest things is a lot of these spaces we're starting to scatter out into the building. It'll all be in one central space all together. Admin, and thank you. Also, when it comes to entries into the building, we want to make sure it's safe and secure, and also being able to let people into the building quickly. So we have two main entries into the building, which is to the east and to the south. The southern entry is for students to enter into. They can come in, line up, wait to pass through security, but still be sheltered. Zoe's working hard on a lot of graphics in this corridor to kind of build students' attitudes up and prep them for the day. So showing all of the great things alumni have done or what students are doing now, that's what a lot of those graphics in that hallway would be. To the east, in both of these entries, there will be a vestibule secured, but to the east, there will be additional components added to it to where the admin, which is in the yellow box below it, will control who's entering into the building. So you have to basically ring a doorbell to be let into the vestibule. The admin can then allow you into the admin space. They can ask you, why are you here? What are you up to? And you can either access the rest of the building, go to a particular space in the building, or just come have your meeting in the admin and then leave securely without bogging down the rest of the building. Moving on to the second floor. Second floor holds social studies and foreign language. We have a couple of flex spaces up on the second floor, again, just trying to account for what we can't plan for into the future, making sure that they can move spaces around and work with the new programs that come up as the years go on. Again, the backstage, we have a scene shop, some spaces for students to prepare for performances, and we also have some extra spaces for admin. One of the comments we had was where admin is right now, it's core to the building, so it's really easy for people to access. There's kind of two things going right now where it's you want easy access of admin right from the main entry so that, again, you can control who's entering the building and really just have them go to that core part of the building. But we also like the idea of making sure everybody within the building has access to those main people helping control the entire flow of the programs. think that's it. Here on the second floor, just north of the auditorium, we are remodeling the original art room to now be a student commons. Again, it's extra space that students and staff can decide what they're going to work on it for. So as we are speaking to the student council, this is a space that they can gather and work on homecoming supplies or anything like that. Commons, that's what you said, yes. The one thing I didn't cover is on the first floor, along with those entryways. These entryways are made much larger than what you're used to seeing in corridors. One, for when you have big flows of people coming into the building, it's easier for them to get into the building and get out of the building, but also it's large enough to act as a cafeteria and common space. We particularly separated out these common spaces so students have opportunities to go different places when they're at lunch or breaking out during the day. It allows them some opportunities to pick and choose. It also helps quiet down those spaces as we aren't trying to cram a whole bunch of people into one particular spot. Alongside that is, just off the corner of this is an additional space up on the second floor of commons. That commons also helps with accessing the second floor of the gym. Again, just north of the gym is the music common space. And then a lot of this gray area is additional support space, mechanical, storage, restrooms, elevator. And then finally, the third floor. The little blip to the right of it is the fourth floor. Again, that's the fourth floor is taking over the media space, giving them more storage or just more opportunities to have different spaces within the library and media center. I think one final thing I haven't mentioned is you may start to see a common pattern of where these colors are happening. The colors are showing what type of space it is. And you may have noticed there is a big blue band around the entire building. All the classrooms are getting natural light, so they're typically pushed to the outside of the building. And then in the core of all of these spaces are support. So the yellow boxes are supporting faculty. They have a space to break out, store their materials that they aren't using for that semester, or just be able to have a break outside of their own room. In the heart of the building, so what used to be girls' side restrooms and boys' side restrooms will be remodeled to be boys and girls restrooms with some single-user restrooms for both staff and students. Moving on to exterior renderings and interior renderings, I'm going to have Todd cover exterior.
So as we've made many changes, as you can tell, those of you who've spent time in these hallways will have hopefully an easier time getting from one side to the other. But probably the most dramatic things will be as you approach the building. So what we're looking at here is a view from Monroe. If you're traveling from the west side towards the Capitol, this will be the new where the properties currently are lined up. I believe there's some apartments, a few offices, things like that. All of those properties have been acquired, and this will be those new gyms. So to the this side is the large competition gym. So if you've driven by Lanphier, very similar in scale to that. It's actually a little bigger. Up on the upper decks, there are full-size practice courts. On both sides. That lower level, as Kayla showed, had the wrestling, the locker rooms, the main competition gym. So that new entry, which will be mainly used for events and bringing students in the morning, getting folks in a school building has changed a lot from in just a few years. So having a place that is out of the weather, that allows a large group of people to easily move into the building safely over about a 10 to 20 minute period is a huge part of what we're doing. So we want to give just a little peek of what Springfield High is to everybody who gets to drive down this beautiful Monroe Street every day. So a lot of sullen pride came out in all the conversations, and one of the big things were the murals. A lot of folks are very passionate about the wonderful mosaic murals that are on the exterior of the original building. So you will see several nods to that heritage. Not only are we preserving those murals and emphasizing them any way we can, we're also doing a modern take on it. So we're using the concrete and metal structures to really recreate those frames and then celebrate in a new way all the wonderful things that happen within the building. The same way these murals showed, I believe, Renaissance careers, we're going to show students performing in athletics and academic endeavors. So that's what you see towards the edge of the frame is the first of one of those graphics that we're showing on the storm shelter. Unfortunately, storm shelters can't have very many windows, so breaking up that mass and making it a little more interesting as you drive by at hopefully a safe speed. This is what it'll feel like at night when you're coming to watch a game. The place will really resemble some of the great arenas that the downtowns are populated with. So we're very excited for the idea. We think it's worth at least 5 points to the home team when everybody shows up. So probably the most important facade from the very beginning, we've been talking about how important this project is, that it maintains the integrity, actually restores the grandeur to the original building. A lot has happened over the years, and some of it wasn't quite as kind as maybe future generations would have wished. So many of the remodels that were done to the original facade took away a lot of the detail, changed a lot of the scale, windows, removed the little cupolas at the top of the entry. So as part of this, we have to do some restoration of the old masonry, so bringing some of those details back. We also wanted to make sure that we weren't overpowering the original building with what is a very sizable addition. So our goal was to really work to the south towards Monroe and delicately remain subservient to the main structure. The biggest thing you'll see that changes on the main structure is the red brick at the base. One of the great challenges of giving life to a 100-year-old building is that entries, or things that used to be entries, really still look like entries. So working with the architecture to really create more of a plaza, place for students or activities to happen that still has the grandeur but is not begging people to come up those stairs to doors that no longer lead to the front office. So you'll see that, and we think we have coined this really the garden side of the building. So we hope many generations will enjoy a nice lunch there. As we move around to the back, as we talked about those murals and the idea of celebrating in a modern way, the idea of student achievements and students preparing for their life and celebrating that. So what you're seeing in those white boxes, that's the fine arts. So it's kind of hard to see the detail here, but those are students performing trumpets and dance and other choreography. And then on the back of what is really the backstage areas, not something they usually show off, so took the opportunity to do another one of those super murals. But probably the most exciting thing that really hasn't existed on this campus for many, many years is this large green space, almost the size of a soccer field, and it really gives all the departments really an opportunity to do some things outside, and whether everything from exercise to academics to large-scale hands-on projects. So pretty exciting. And just under the middle mural is a colonnade structure that allows you to have some outdoor tables, even when Illinois weather doesn't like to participate with academics. So I believe that's the last of our exterior images, and I'd like Zoe to come up and share her vision for our interiors and how she's made the new and old come together.
Hi, my name is Zoe Kester, and I'm one of the interior designers, the lead interior designer on this project, and also was your Vanna White earlier. So Springfield is really the heart, well, Springfield High is really the heart of Springfield. I've lived here in Chatham and around Springfield for most of my life, and so it has been a big part of the identity of Springfield, and a lot of my friends attended here, so it is definitely exciting to be able to work on this project and bring together, as Todd mentioned, the old and the new. There is so much rich history here, but if you take a walk around, it is starting to fall apart, as 150-year buildings they tend to do. So we really wanted to try to preserve some of the overall historic aspects, like the mosaics, like a lot of the brick, some of the other beautiful detailing that you can see in your building, but also modernize it with modern finishes. And I invite everyone to come up after this presentation to come and look at our finish board that we have put together. These will be some of the finishes that you'll see around the school. And as you can see, it is very much emphasizing that Springfield red, the Senator pride. We wanted to keep that at the focal point of this design. So what you're seeing up on the screen is actually the exterior of your building on the east, which will now be part of the interior of the East Commons. So this is one of the two entry and exit points. This is the administrative entry exit, the one that will be used more so during the day when people need to come in and be buzzed into the office and buzzed into the building. So for most of the actual daytime, it will be used as a commons for students. This is part of the cafeteria. This is a very grand, tall space, so this will be a little bit more exciting, vibrant, whereas you'll see in the next couple images that we have other commons, as Kayla mentioned, that are a little bit more quiet for people who need to not be in the middle of the vibrancy all the time. So we definitely wanted to preserve the existing entry, all the brick, and then we're adding some new structure into this space. And of course, we'll be adding furniture that is flexible, that allows the students to really find what suits them in this space. This is just looking from the other way, so if you've just entered into the building, then you'll be able to start seeing deeper into the building. We also have a little overhang from the second floor, so we'll have that visual connection, but we will have sound division. So that way students can see each other, because on that second floor we do have a little bit more of a commons, especially that area that functions as like a concessions area before you go into the mezzanine level of the gym. But it creates that visual connection between the two floors, so you have all the commons together. And after the school day, this space will really function as the community space. So when all the games and events, sports, for the musicals, theater, everything that the community will be able to access will be in this space. So we really wanted to make sure that it flowed together, had access to the places that were necessary, and were blocked off from the academic place where you don't want all of the community always having access to it, free reign. This is, so back in this image, you can kind of start seeing it. As you continue to walk through, we're going through the East Commons to the West Commons, which is the much more kind of like private, quieter zone. It is where the kitchen is, so this will be where students grab their meals and walk out, which is another reason why it is a little bit lower and more private, to have more acoustical absorption. So this is another area that students are able to sit, work, have different meetings after school, have their time before school, and it also is the entry to the competition gym. So this will be the area that people can come and sit at when they're waiting before a game, and we will also have a little bit further down the commons, you can see a little start of what will be your athletic hall of fame. So we'll definitely want to preserve all of that history with all of the trophies and many awards that you guys have gained over the years, and we'll want to celebrate that, especially within this space that is a little bit more athletic. And then to top it off, this is an image of the predicted image of the gym. So we really wanted to bring Springfield pride into it. So we're definitely keeping to your color palette. We will have on some of the students that you can't see, like soul and pride. We wanted to bring in that rich history of Springfield, that you guys have the Capitol as your main visual mascot. Obviously, Solon is your kind of student mascot, but wanted to bring that attention in this area. It is double height, just like you will see with Lanphier too, that you have the practice gyms up on the second floor, but the main first floor is that competition gym. Big, grand, worthy of the history of Springfield. All right, I think it is time to open it up to questions and comments, or? Okay, thank you.
Real quickly, there's a exciting. So, the idea of the gym is that we've got the lower level that will accommodate most of the spectators that they have on an average day. So the bleachers actually fold forward, so it feels like that small gym environment. But when you really need to open it up for sectionals or the big rivalry games, you've got the capacity to do that. And then during the day, there's a great walking track that allows track practices and other things to happen up there as well. So very exciting, and we can't thank you as a community and as a district for enough for entrusting us with such a treasure. So thank you.
Couple things. Past student here, been in the district for many, many years, so I was thinking of a few things that I wanted to mention that I know that they've already covered. The front lawn of our school has a lot of rich history, some sculptures, some time capsules, some trees that were planted in honor of specific people. I know we have one tree that honors Scott Summerhoff, who passed away in the line of duty in Beirut. So we want to make sure that we honor those. We're going to protect those, make sure that we bring that rich history back to life, making it look like that garden front, but honoring all of those spaces. All of the furniture that you saw in the classroom, you may have noticed they were on casters. Flexible furniture is here, being able to move them easily, move them into pods, move them into small groups working together is an important piece of any classroom as well. Making sure that all of that furniture in our open areas where we're entering the building is also movable and able to be moved for in the morning when we're checking all the kids in versus at an activity where we have a lot of need for space. So all of that will be flexible furniture. I believe I think you already talked a little bit about the science area. We want to also renovate it and bring it back to give the science teachers the things that they need. Even though it's a newer structure, we did not want to ignore that, so we are working with their team to make sure that those things happen. But I also wanted to thank Mayor Busher. I reached out to her last week. Safety and security is at the front of our thinking with everything we do. We know that we're going to have challenges with parking. We saw some of the extra parking lots. If you're just crossing Parker, it's not a big deal. But if you're crossing Monroe in the morning, which we want to try to build enough parking that we don't have to do, or whether we put parking out here on Washington Street across in the grassy area, all of those things will be done with a sense of safety in mind for our students. We know we've had a couple of accidents as of late, and we want to make sure that we're thinking about all of those issues as well. When this building was built, it was a much different time, much different modes of transportation, but also different safety concerns that we live with today. And so that was put at the front of our thinking, just like it was at Lanphier High School as well. You said that Springfield High is the heart of the city. I don't want to disagree. I would say it's the heart of downtown and maybe the oldest high school, but each of our high schools hold a great, important spirit to our community. I can't thank, again, everybody enough for what we've been able to do for the north side of Springfield with Lanphier. I'm so excited about this. But also just for the good of the know in the room, we are also going to be working and rolling out plans for Southeast High School and their different phasing as well. Some of that will be coinciding with the work that we're doing here at Springfield.